What's going on, fishy friends? We are headed down to North Carolina this evening to do the North Carolina Inshore fishing report. But before we jump to that, a couple quick announcements. First of all, question of the night wins 2 packs of soft plastics from Old School Tackle Company. One is a 3.5-inch Rip Shiner and Shocking Yardbird, and the other one is a 3.5-inch Fatty from Smokin' Shiner. So that is the prize for the evening. Other announcements: TFC Plus is still available to everyone. It's $5 a month to subscribe. Just go to the fishingchannel.net and on a computer and click the join button, not the subscribe. You should have already subscribed. If you haven't, shame on you. And click the join button right next to it. But we're in a little bit of a delay because our guest isn't here yet. But if you're in the chat, I see there's 4 people that have arrived so far. Just go ahead and say hello, and we'll do a little chat. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll throw in a trivia for an extra prize for the evening. So if you're in the room, just go ahead and say hello. Tell us where you're from, and how about we'll do say hello, where you're from, and the last fish you caught. For me, it's been a little rough. We have an extremely warm winter here in Maryland, and we've been able to catch fish much later in the season than we ever have before. But the last 3 days, it's like someone took the bite like a faucet and turned it off. It's like even the captains that are really successful have not been catching many fish. So, you know, the bite is just completely shut off on that end. But it's gonna come back. I mean, we have spring right around the corner, and there's 6 people in here. Nobody's chatty. Let's see. Humminbird side imaging versus Simrad side scan. German, that's a great question. And you know what I'll tell you? I hope you have Humminbird, because the Humminbird compared to Simrad is not that comparable. I mean, they both offer side imaging. The one thing I'll tell you is we did a special on this the other night. So go back and watch the Fishing Channel from Tuesday night with Kevin Conrad. And we did an hour-long thing on it. But what I'll tell you, for what I learned from that, is that Simrad is going to send out the same strength signal as Humminbird. Their nicer units are going to have the same resolution. So you'd think that they would produce similar results. But what I learned the other night was that they send out the same signal, but when it comes back, Humminbird processes it better. That's where the difference is. It's like in the post-processing. So basically, imagine if you were yelling in a canyon, going echo, echo. Well, on a Humminbird, you're going to hear that echo come back a lot clearer than you would on a Simrad, Garmin, Lowrance, any of those systems. Humminbird just processes that data when it comes back better, so that your image is more clear. What's going on, E, down in Cape Coral? How are you, sir? Got D-Train. How are you, Southern Maryland? I know where you are, sir. Haven't been out fishing in 2023. D-Train. David. Unacceptable, brother. No. German, where are you from, buddy? You've watched the show a good bit, and I think you're a Marylander, but I'm not 100% sure. We still don't have a guest yet, so we'll do a trivia question. Let's see. For an extra prize, what can we do? I don't, someone did answer that correctly the other night. All right, for an extra prize, let's see how quick you guys are on Google. For an extra prize, German live here in Shadyside. Dude, oh, you lived in Shadyside. Why'd you move so far away from me, bro? You were like a 5-minute drive. And Shadyside has that awesome launch now. So you moved out at the wrong time, because that launch at Shadyside is the stuff. Humminbird was so backed up when I upgraded and went with Garmin. I love it. D-Train, yeah, Garmin is, so here's the way I look at it. And like, we aren't sponsored by anybody, but if we're going to do like a tier system, Humminbird's here. Okay. Garmin's here. And Lowrance, Simrad, Ray Marine, all those are down here, maybe even further. But like, you can't see because I only have a limited scope here. Garmin makes a good unit. I've owned Garmin for a long time, and there's actually a lot of things that I like better on Garmin's units than Humminbird. I really like Garmin's plain old traditional sonar. So that's basically on a Garmin, that's, got a blue screen with, red return. That's just so simple, and I like the way it displays. I like everything about it. I also like Garmin's maps better than Humminbird. I like Garmin's interface better than Humminbird. Humminbird has a lot of settings, and that's one of the things I like the most about it, and one of the things I like the least about it. So when the fishing's not really great, I find myself spending way too much time adjusting settings on my Humminbird instead of looking for fish. And that's my own problem, I know. But, that's the issue. I'm trying to figure out what is going on with our guest for this evening. But the trivia question, see how fast people can use the Google machine, is, in what year was the Maryland state record, what fish? Cobia caught. Maryland state record cobia. What year is that? And we'll throw in a pack of old schools for the winner of the fastest Googler of the evening. Let's see. Maryland. Ha! I think David's fastest. State record cobia. Okay, we need more information than that. Let's see. Cobia. Oh, I think you might have guessed, buddy, because that is the incorrect answer. The Maryland state record for cobia was not caught in 2005. It was caught in a different year. It was caught in a different year. It was not caught in 2005, although I caught a giant a couple years ago, although it was not 94.6 pounds. Good gracious, that's a big old fish. So I'll say something while we're still waiting. Oh, you did guess. All right, D. That's why you didn't win. You can't guess. But if you guessed and got it right, man, that would have been legit. So I've got a theory on something, and I think, well, it's not really my theory. My good buddy Pat Hanna once told me, he said that for migratory fish, right? So we're talking in Maryland or, anywhere, wherever you are, for a fish that migrates. So what fish migrate? Well, we know bluefish migrate, right? Striped bass migrate. cobia migrate, redfish migrate, speckled trout migrate. Okay, lots of other ones. Spanish mackerel, right? We get those here. Those fish that migrate into the bay, or anywhere, again, the outer reaches of where they migrate, right? So let's say since we're all, a lot of us are Marylanders here, a redfish, for example, for the most part, their migration ends at roughly Chesapeake Beach in Maryland. Hey, damn it, man. Howdy from Georgetown. Is that Georgetown in DC? Or there's also a Georgetown, South Carolina, I know for sure. Just which Georgetown are you? South Carolina, nice, good stuff. So if you're just logging in, I'm not sure what's going on with our guests, but we can sit here and chat. I can fill 30 minutes with running my mouth. I know that's for sure. If anybody has questions just for me, this can be the Ask Crazy Horse questions evening. But so we know that redfish migrate for the most part. I know people catch them up by the bridge and, in Eastern Bay. For the most part, those big bulls come in to Chesapeake Beach, right? That's the furthest most place where they migrate. Now, Maryland gets huge bull reds, right? We're talking, it's not unusual to catch a 50+ inch bull red. A lot of places that doesn't even happen. A big bull red in some places is like 40 inches. Same with speckled trout. We know that speckled trout come up to, depending on the year, roughly Poplar Island. We get some of the largest speckled trout anywhere. I mean, we were catching them at 26, 27 inches at the power plant just a few days ago, right? Dead of winter, they get stuck there at the power plant. And we could talk about that if you guys have a question about any of the fishing I've been doing recently. There's a lot going on the Chesapeake Bay. How much is the boat ramp at Shadyside, David? It's free, bro. Completely free. And man, I'm not gonna say it's the nicest ramp in the world, but it's quiet, right? There's not a lot of people using it. A lot of people don't even know about it. It's completely free. It's 24 hours. It's in a good neighborhood. Even despite the sound of it, Shadyside is not shady. I think it's kind of interesting. I'd say Shadyside's interesting. It's eclectic. Best tagging reds for decades. Most don't go far. Been tagging reds for decades. Most don't go far. Yeah. Well, they're not in the bay in January, for example. So we know they at least leave the bay during that time. But getting back to what I was saying. So we get huge speckled trout up here. Our correspondent down in Georgia, Captain Massa, sees our pictures of speckled trout, and he's like, man, that's a fish. That's a dream fish for me. And I catch 24-inch trout, not all the time, but somewhat regularly up here. What's the greatest year that you caught your personal best fish of any species of fish? Rodney, God, I would say last year I caught a 53-inch cobia, and it was like at the exact same time that I just caught a big red, and my buddy had a red on the boat at the exact same time. So he had about a 49, 50-inch redfish and a cobia on this deck at the exact same time. That was pretty epic, and that would have been the last year. That was awesome. Cool. The one at Try and Deal in Tri-State is $20. Yeah, man, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to talk too bad about those guys because our shirts are for sale at that tackle shop, and they're good people there. But like, with that launch right there in Shadyside, man. I mean, that's a deal. It's free. It's a deal and deal. It's free. Let's see. E says, Cape Coral's Jupiter kayak fishing. My personal best is 23 down here. 28-inch trout is insane. Exactly right. But all I'll say is I've probably caught, I don't know, a dozen between 24 and 28 inches, over the last few years. Sometimes we'll catch them in 2 to 3 feet of water. Sometimes we'll catch them in 18 feet of water. So the ones right now at the power plant, so there's a nuclear power plant for those of you who aren't in the area. It's about 20 miles south of where I live, and it's got cooling turbines that bring the water in from the bay over the nuclear reactors, I suppose, or whatever they are. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. And it cools the nuclear stuff, and it sends the water back out. Well, that water is warm. It's usually about 6 degrees warmer than the surrounding area. So fish like speckled trout stay there, and so does the bait. And the speckled trout are kind of trapped there because the surrounding water is too cold for them. It would kill them. So as long as that water at the power plant doesn't get too cold, those fish will stay there, or people don't catch them out. But they've been pretty good. Darn It Man says we have large reds and trout and good flounder, but a 30-inch striper on the coast is hard to find. Yeah. So yeah, and our tarpon do the same at our power plant, right? Yeah. Let's see if we got any other questions or comments coming in. So nobody's answered the trivia question yet, which was, what year was the Maryland state record cobia caught? I will say it was 94 pounds because I had to Google to get that. 94. That's a big one. Wait, not scientist. Do you know what a woman? I don't understand the question. Darn it, man. I'm sorry. But I could try. So fishing on the bay recently has been fantastic up until the last 4 or 5 days. So I've talked to Walleye Pete. I've talked to Steve Griffin. I've talked to Jamie Clow. Haven't talked to Weaver recently, but talked to Cole Langley, lots of guys, and the bite just shut off. So honestly, what I would say if I was fishing or planning a trip, I think the next few days is going to be really good. And the reason I think that is that that the fish have to eat, right? So people that I know that have been out there have been marking fish, but they're not eating. They're not in feeding mode, right? So those fish are gonna have to put some food in their stomachs, and with this warm weather that we've had, their metabolism is going to start kicking into gear. So, I mean, whether it's tomorrow, the next day, it's going to be soon. And when that bite turns on, I mean, it's going to be epic because those fish are going to be making up for lost time. D. Now you're really taking shots in the dark. Sky Blazer, you are correct, sir. You are the winner, and I will send you a pack of old school. You know what, Sky Blazer, you get a choice, brother. All right, we got these, which are kind of like an electric chicken. They're called Shocking Yardbird. Kind of like make you want to have a seizure color combination. Okay. And then we got Fatty Smoking Shiner. You get to choose which one of those you want. Sky Blazer, you are the winner. The largest cobia caught in Maryland was in 2016. It weighed 94 pounds. So to put this in perspective, the 53-incher I caught last year, which I thought that was a big fish, I had that in my arms, and it was probably, it was a good-sized fish, but I would guess, gosh, that was probably maybe a 25-pound fish, maybe. So a 53-incher was 25 pounds. a 94-pound cobia. Good gracious. That must have been a big fish. So I might be running the South Florida show as well. Let me see. Lady C sent me a message. I'm stuck in an accident. I won't make it in time, unfortunately. Okay. All right. Well, she's stuck in traffic, so I will be running the next show as well. So, anybody else have any more questions, or somebody throw out a topic they want to talk about? I don't know. We got a comment there. Let's see. I'm in and ready. Okay. Well, we could start early, I suppose, but that's going to mess people up. Cobia, Maryland said 97.8. Did I say 94 pounds? I finally got David to Google something, and now he's correcting me. So you guessed twice, and you finally Google it, and you're like, no, sir, it's 97.8. Thanks, David. All right, we got a couple more minutes. I got something I want to talk about. I'm not going to really make an opinion. I'm just going to state some facts. Okay. So there's been drama about the striped bass here in Maryland for years. The year over year, whatever it is, the breeding hasn't gone well over the last several years here in the Bay. Anybody can tell, that fishes regularly, that there aren't nearly as many large fish as there used to be. There aren't as many fish, period, as there used to be. I've noticed that south of the Bay Bridge, really after July, well, no, that's not true. South of Eastern Bay, after July, it's hard to find stripers. Hey, what's going on, Sam? What's my go-to tide? Gosh, I'll take any tide. On the Bay, it's just like I want it moving. So slack tide and the top of the tide aren't good. But I guess if I had to choose I'm going to go on an outgoing tide. Just because the spots that I really like, the structure, it just lends itself a little bit better to the tide going out. The bait and the food getting sort of pushed in a certain direction. So if I had to have my go-to, I'm going to go with an outgoing, but I just want it moving. So anyways, what I'm getting at is, Maryland keeps changing the regulations, the amount you can keep, when you can fish, when you can't fish. I'm going to throw out there, if Maryland put a slot limit on striped bass, and when I say this, it needs to be Maryland and Virginia and the other states. What should that slot limit be? And would it be a good idea? I'm putting this out for you guys to comment. Rodney says, are you going to have another program with the Humminbird rep on transducer placement? Man, I think I might. I got a lot of feedback on that, and there's been a lot of positive feedback. And what most of the feedback has been is that they actually wanted us to get more advanced, right? So I wanted to make sure that the beginning fishermen could follow along, and I wanted to make sure we weren't throwing out any jargon that was going to lose people. And I think that was good, but I'd like to do another one and get a little bit more on the technical end. And Rodney, we can definitely work on transducer placement. I got to talk to Kevin to see if he's able to do it. But there's a lot of people in our area that are really, really good. Kevin's fantastic, don't get me wrong. But there's Nick Garrett who could possibly do it, and a few others. So if people really like the sonar stuff, then yeah, let's do another one. I love that. I love that. Outdoors in Maryland, Sam says, didn't it work for the redfish? So that's why I'm bringing it up, Sam. That's the exact reason why I'm bringing it up, because every single state from Maryland all the way to Texas has a slot limit for redfish. And for the most part, they're pretty similar, right? That slot's the low end of that slot's gonna be somewhere around 17. And the high end of that slot's gonna be somewhere around 28. Now, some of them, Georgia's a lot lower, but by like 3 inches. It's not crazy different. And the number you can keep is a lot different. The number down in Georgia is something crazy, like you can keep 10 of them. Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up, because, I mean, like I said, you don't have to be a fool to notice what's going on with the striped bass. You also don't have to be a fool to notice everything good going on with redfish, right? Like, that fishery is doing great. I mean, we're catching those old drum, those big drum. Those are 40 and 50-year-old fish, and they're protected. As soon as, in most states, as soon as they hit 28 inches, that fish is covered by law for the rest of its life, which, I mean, can be like 60 years. For striped bass, after a fish hits 28 inches, and I'm not saying that's what the slot limit needs to be, their breeding capability starts going up exponentially. A 40-inch rockfish can lay so many more eggs or spat or whatever you want to call them. Again, I'm not a scientist, than any other fish, than any of the smaller ones by far, right? So if we protect those big fish and they're protected for life, I know there's a lot more issues, and I said I'm not gonna make an opinion on it, but I did say I would share facts, and I am sharing facts. I know there's more issues. I know there's omega ships. I know there's environmental issues like nitrate overflow with farming. I know there's mortality issues with handling fish during the summer, but just that change, instituting a slot limit for charter guys and recreation guys, and this can't just be Maryland. This would be Maryland, Virginia. It's got to be New Jersey, New York on up, right? It's got to be a multi-state agreement here, but just that change could make a huge difference. Maybe it could. I'm just stating facts. I'm not stating opinion here. All right, it is 7:58, guys. I've already talked. Well, he's on here. Our buddy E with Cape Coral's Jupiter Kayak Fishing. He's going to be on in 2 minutes. So do me a favor, if you're on here, hop off and jump on that feed, and it won't be me talking for 28 minutes. It'll be me asking questions for a few minutes, and E, spit knowledge for most of that stuff. So jump on over there. See me in 2 seconds. I will catch you guys there. You know what? Even though the guest never showed up, I'm still going to do it classy and give you guys the outro. So see you in a second.